Welcome back to Join Our Town. My name is Terry Bates. I'm the pastor of Faith Church here in Oklahoma City. And with us today we have Robin Khoury, and she's talking with us about children of incarcerated parents. She's the principal of Little Light Christian School here in Oklahoma City area. And we've learned a lot already about the children and what their challenges are. And now we want to talk a little bit about the caregivers, those people who are responsible for these children while parents are away because of incarceration. So, Robin, again, thank you for taking time to educate us, inform us, and help us understand this particular challenge in our society today. We talked about the children earlier on and the benefits of a school like the one you're providing. Gives them an environment where commonality exists, so the stigma or the shame factor is minimized. But this is a real issue for caregivers, because once a parent goes into an incarcerated situation, especially if it's the mother, who many times has been the primary caregiver, this shifts responsibility. So who does it shift to, and what kind of challenges are they facing?
This is one of the huge issues with children of incarcerated parents, and that is that they fly below the radar. There's not good tracking systems in place really to know what is happening to these children, and I think our state government is trying to take some steps to track them more closely to see and make sure that they are in safe environments, but they kind of scatter to the wind sometimes, and some children have just been shuttled off to friends and other family members, and some of them get shuttled from one different situation to the next. And so, but many of our students are living with grandmothers or aunties. Mm-hmm. Some of them have been adopted out of the foster care system. So there are a variety of different living environments, but one thing that they have in common is that generally they struggle financially because of the burden that having an incarcerated family member puts on the family. And many of these grandmas might be caring for several grandchildren, even from different children of theirs. Mm-hmm. And so these are older people. They're having their own health issues. They're tired, and they don't have the energy they used to have when they had their own youngsters. And so it presents a lot of different problems for them.
I've noticed just in my experience in ministry, when we came across someone that was incarcerated, that if the father was incarcerated but the wife wasn't, then obviously they stay pretty much with the mother in most cases. But when the mother is incarcerated, even if the father is not, the children usually don't go to the father. They usually go to the mother of the father, and they're shifted in that direction. Mm-hmm. You make a great observation, though, and that is that these children are not in a trackable situation. Now, if the incarceration or something was because of child abuse or something that involved the children early on, then those kids were probably put into a foster care system or into DHS. Yes. But if there's not been a child-related conviction, then the state says that's not my problem. They're not under our supervision, they're not under control. So they really are left to fend for themselves.
Well, and I think that the state is trying to take some measures now to see if the person that is arrested has children. They are trying to see that the children are in a safe environment, and they're trying to track them better and make sure that they are with a family member that is going to give them care. But in the not so distant past, that was not the case. Mm-hmm.
So the Christian school environment that you're providing, which as you made as a non-tuition, you're providing uniforms and clothing and all these wonderful resources to them. Are there some other, whether or not you can provide this or not, are there some other things that nonprofit churches can do to help support the caregivers of these children?
There is a great nonprofit called Grandparents Raising Grandchildren, I believe, and that is a wonderful organization that comes in and tries to help these grandmas that are raising all of their grandchildren. And it's a huge financial burden, and most of these grandmas are single parents as well. So there is a lot of a financial burden on them.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, another type of caregiver, even though they're not taking these kids home and providing that environment for them, really in my sense is the educators, the people that are connected to your school that have chosen to take their gifts, their talents, their experience and place it in this kind of an environment. Tell us about them. I mean, I know that if they have a choice, this is not the easiest place to teach or to use your gifts.
Well, and it's not the most financially enriching,
Yeah.
but they get their benefits in other ways. And so some of our teachers, one of our teachers is a retired principal from a Christian school and co-founder of a charter school in California. Beautiful Christian lady with her master's degree in reading, and she wants to serve the Lord. And our vice principal is a former military chaplain, and she could do lots of things. She has a PhD, but she's chosen to invest her remaining working years with our students. One of our teachers is a certified teacher, but she was a homeschool mama. And actually we have a couple that used to be homeschool mothers that have gone on and gotten their degrees, and or one of them had her degree before she homeschooled. But we find homeschool mamas do pretty well, because in some ways our school's like a big homeschool. And so our teachers don't make as much money as teachers in the public school do, but they are after eternal rewards, and they are people who have a heart for children. They're the type of people that you find teaching Sunday school and vacation Bible school and those type of things where you don't get paid at all.
Right, right. But they've invested their talents in this way, an incredible way. So obviously, just because they are faith-based themselves, their influence as a modeling the Christian life, showing, hey, we can pray about issues when we get upset, those kinds of things are natural. Are you doing, are there opportunities for chapel or any other options like that where they will have an influence in the lives of these children as well?
Actually, our curriculum has Christian thought woven throughout it, but we had chapel this morning, as a matter of fact, and we had Mr. Jerome Crawford from Life Church came and shared with our students his testimony and a little bit about his life story. And we've had, this is only the third chapel we've had. We just added chapel this year, so we're really excited about our new chapel experience for the students. But the teachers are free to share their testimony. Many times they pray with our students, and it's just a holistic Christian atmosphere. It's not something that's in a box. It's in the air. It's in the water that we drink. So,
you know, when I think about the influence that we have to make in children, I often go back to a biblical story for a moment. When there was an invasion in the land of Israel, and King Nebuchadnezzar and they took all these children and they separated them from their parents and put them in Chaldean schools. They changed their names, which I believe was to break their identity with their heritage as being Israelites, gave them Chaldean names and wanted to educate them in Chaldean ways. Of course, that's where we get the story of the 3 Hebrew children and Daniel standing out with distinction. But what I often say is those parents made an investment before this invasion took place. They deposited something in their kids that even when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and Daniel were carried into a foreign land, they had enough in them not to bend, not to bow, not to give that away. So in many ways, that's what you're doing. You're giving them something that when they're thrust out into the world, they're separated from their parents at this time, but you're trying to make sure they have the inner strength to stand strong with values and convictions.
There are lots of schools, but what we are dealing in is hope. And we are dealers of hope, and we help children know that they do have hope and that God loves them. He knitted them together in their mother's womb. They're not an accident, and they can know that they can have a life with purpose.
Right. Well, also, even though this title or theme that we're talking about is parents of children of incarcerated parents, are there some cases where the parents have finished their time where you guys would still continue providing education to these children because their parents have been incarcerated in the past?
Yes, and we take students whose parents are now out that just have been incarcerated. So even if both parents are out right now, and even no matter if they look like they're doing well, we have a couple that are in this situation, but many times the students are a little bit behind because if they went through this trauma when they were in earlier years, then they get behind during that season. And so we give them enough individual attention that we're able to help them. And also sometimes they get in trouble a lot in government schools because of their behavior, because almost all of them have some different behavior problems associated with trauma.
I would think so, and maybe could be acting out of the grief or the frustration or the experience itself of having been separated from parents. And of course we've already talked about the shame or the stigma issue that you try to eliminate by allowing these kids to all have this commonality factor, which is tremendous. But I do think that the children are probably struggling to figure out their identity a little bit more, and trying to not be disrespectful to their parents, and as if to look down on their own parents in the process, but trying to find a better way for themselves. So your curriculum undoubtedly is giving them that Christian base, that Christian value system to balance those, honoring the parents, but not necessarily duplicating choices that they made as well. So decision making is a very powerful piece. The reason why parents got where they were is decisions that they made. So is there a way in which your curriculum is trying to help these students make better decisions?
Well, when we have a discipline issue and we walk through it with the student about their choices, these are choices that you're making, and this is the choice you made today, but let's consider this choice. This is a possibility for you, and you can do this. So just like when a child is acting out, we say, you can calm down. Let's calm down, and we give them the opportunity to do that. And so many times in government schools, when they don't have the resources or the manpower to sit and deal with students who are having these issues, they just call the parent and say, come get your kid. And these parents are finding it very difficult to hold down their jobs if their children are acting out in school. And
in addition, most of these parents don't have the skill set to walk their kids through a therapeutic solution or a better directive. So you're providing that. You really are providing more than education, as you've already pointed out. You're even providing more than a Christian education with character, core values. You're creating that, and I love the phrase that you used, a therapeutic environment where change, holistic change can take place, because it has to be the whole system, otherwise there's a breakdown. So you're dealing with the educational side, the intellectual side, you're dealing with the Christian value, spiritual side, and you're dealing with the emotional side. Are there any other aspects of this process that you hope to increase your capacity for these children?
Well, we need a facility. Our facility, we are just absolutely packed in where we are. So we have a lot of dreams of different things we would like to provide for the students. We'd like to have a gym. We'd like to have bicycles. We want a program to help them learn more life skills. After-school program and before and after-school care. Those are all things we would like to add in the near future.
Awesome. Yeah.
I'd like to see a chess team. We want to do double Dutch jump roping. We want to get them involved in lots of things, but what we consciously want to do is lift the lid of poverty off of their lives and their minds and help them to realize that they can learn anything they want to learn. And we want them to know that they can do things that they want to do. And we are trying to help them, expose them to some of those things.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I appreciate you being with us, Robin, today. Little Light Christian School, which is ministering to children who have parents that are incarcerated, and in many ways ministering to the parent, the grandparents, and those caregivers as well. You can find out more about them by looking up the website that will be available to you on the screen, and pray for this ministry. Pray for them to be able to meet the needs of these children who have parents who are incarcerated.